which will start at 4:30 p.m. on Saturday. But the game we're talking about, 4:30 p.m., that's going to take place on Sunday. San Francisco and Philadelphia, opening numbers around 3. Now we're getting 5.5s infiltrating into the markets. Make sure you're shopping around. There are 4.5s out there and 5.5s out there, and a total of 44.5. Philadelphia and San Francisco duel on Sunday, Joe. What's your spread line here?
This is the one game of them all here in Wildcard weekend in which the pros and the Joes are aligned, Donnie. And they are aligned on the Eagles. Make no mistake about it. All the money, all the tickets on both sides coming in on Philadelphia. We also saw the total being pushed down this week, too. That also seems to be in alignment with the pros and the Joes. So we're getting a lot of under money, and we're getting a lot of love for Philadelphia. You'd be hard-pressed to find a lot of folks back in the 49ers in this game. But I even saw it hit as high as 5.5, Donnie, in some spots. And there are some 5.5s in the marketplace now this morning. So here comes the love for the Philadelphia Eagles at home. That's a dead number, Donnie. You and I both know it at 5.5, though.
5.5 sounds like my Birds are going to run away with that game, as they should. And then the Packers beat the Bears, and all of a sudden the Eagles have a second home game. And everybody who yelled, "We're not going to get a second home game in Philadelphia," you're probably going to get a second home game in Philadelphia. And away we go, Joe, to Monday Night Football. That is Houston and Pittsburgh. This line opened up as a 3.5-point favorite, as we've been talking about all week, towards Houston. Now we're 3s across the board in a total of 38.5. No better cold weather quarterback to have on your side than Pittsburgh's Aaron Rodgers, but the upstart Houston Texans, that nasty defense, they're favored right now, Joe. What's your spread line here?
Well, the spread line here is that unlike Philadelphia and the 49ers, where the pros and Joes are aligned, they're not aligned in this game, Donnie. The Joes here, the public, loves themselves some Houston Texans. The pros, not so much. That hook is no longer available across the board. You're seeing flat 3s right now. You're also starting to see the under money come in now. It was kind of 39.5. It was that at the open. It kind of stayed stagnant throughout the week, but now we're starting to see 38 and 38.5 as the weather report starts to become a little bit clearer, getting an understanding of what we're going to get. But it looks like the under, but the public loves themselves some Houston Texans in this game.
Oh, yeah, it is a Football Friday right here on the SportsGrid Network. Action-packed energy all day long to get you ready for tonight's college football semifinal and then this weekend's wild card action. You know the place to be. It's right here on the grid, but right now it's the early line. And we're going to talk some NFL firings here. Mike McDaniel. Joe, how about this? On Monday, he's like, you know what? I'm going to get in front of the press and be like, yeah, we're going through interviews right now for a general manager, starting our all season here, and everything's going to be good. Stephen Ross then on Tuesday met with McDaniel and goes, you know what? I don't know if you're the right guy for the job anymore, and fired McDaniel, and here we are today. The Miami Dolphins looking for a new head coach. I was kind of surprised by this because this week it looked like McDaniel was definitely back.
I don't know what took so long. To me, this had to have been in the works for a little while. I don't necessarily believe that the Harbaugh becoming available was the reason for it, but I just don't know what they waited for. Listen, if you're going to do this, you have to do it right. You got to get the general manager correct, right? And as it turns out, ironically enough, the general manager that's in the lead maybe for this job is a former Baltimore Raven assistant to Acosta that had been there forever in Baltimore. So there is a connection to Harbaugh with the GM that is likely going to take the job. But I'll tell you, I can't see Harbaugh coming to Miami with no quarterback situation whatsoever. They are kind of stuck with Tua, at least for another year, until they can figure how to dump him to somebody else.
Here's the interesting part, Joe, because as you started the show, and you're right about this, the NFL's got 8 coaching jobs open. That's ridiculous. There's not enough really good coaches to fill that role. So usually in markets, Joe, it's like, okay, 1 to 2 coaches got fired. Hey, there's a lot of hot candidates out here. I better move on from my coach if I want to get one of them. The only reason I bring that up is when you go into the offseason, it looks like McDaniel was supposed to be back. What changed in Stephen Ross's mind this week? Because understand this, businessmen like Stephen Ross never go without a plan B that's already in motion at this point. So he didn't fire McDaniel like, you know what? I just don't think it works. Let's go through an extensive process and go through 15, hiring cycles here to see if we can get the right guy that we want. I do believe Ross got word this week that a big name coach was like, I might be interested in that job. And that's why McDaniel is gone, because I do find it interesting where we weren't going to fire McDaniel until Harbaugh actually hit the street. You knew for 3 months who these coaching candidates were going to be. Not a lot of people thought that Harbaugh, let's just say Mike Tomlin, would be out on the sideline. The Tomlin obviously is not out because he's still coaching for Pittsburgh in the playoffs. But now that Harbaugh's out, I got to believe there could be some smoke where there's fire, because I don't think Ross, again, fired McDaniel by himself on a whim like, I just think it's time for something new. Something's got to be cooking here, Joe.
Well, and it could very well be the fact, and again, keeping in mind, it's not just a coach, it's a GM and now a coach. And it would be kind of hard to sell to a GM in the interview, yeah, we're going to keep McDaniel, McDaniel's your guy. A GM's going to, if you're really hitting the reset button, which it sounds like that's what they're doing, they are interviewing, the guy's name is Chad Alexander. Now, Chad Alexander spent 20 years in Baltimore in that front office working under Ozzie Newsome. And he's got over a decade of experience working with John Harbaugh. Do you know who he currently works with? Jim Harbaugh on the Chargers. So this could very well be the key as to why all of this is happening, Donnie. You're right. Where there's smoke, there could be fire. You bring in the GM who immediately brings in John Harbaugh, you've got yourself now a new era in Miami.
Exactly, and something to believe in, because a lot of times, again, we are in the, let's just say in the NFL, you're in the business of selling seats and making money. If you keep McDaniel back next year, where's the energy from? We know what we're going to do. You get a new head coach in there, a big-time head coach in there, you're going to fire up that fan base once again. And understand this, too. He's going to get a lot of rain in that organization because Miami's not exactly run well where they're making it to the playoffs every year. I mean, the team hasn't won a playoff game, it feels like, since 1972 at this point. But also, if we are looking in the future, Tua Tagovailoa has a decision to make, not for him, but just what the franchise is going to do. Understand this. This could be a complete teardown season where you just eat it, you cut him, or you try to get a 6th-round pick and readjust his contract, but understanding this, your cap is going to be screwed up for at least 1 to 2 years. Or do you keep him and say, well, if we cut him, it costs us more than actually keeping him here. We'll use him for 1 more year. We'll see what we have and then reevaluate. That's tough. What do you think the Dolphins, Joe, do with Tua?
They're going to try to move him. Good luck with that because they still owe him a ton of money. And listen, I mean, you brought in McDaniel to fix Tua, right? And it looked great early on when you had, Tyreek Hill, still wanting to play and healthy. And wow, they looked fantastic until they got to -8 degrees in Kansas City. You got to find a new identity in Miami, Donnie.
Let's get down to business, people. It's Wild Card weekend. And again, I can't stress it enough. 2 Saturday, 3 Sunday, 1 on Monday Night Football. It's your boy DRS along with Joe Ranieri. Now we welcome in my guy Tom Vecchio here. Big weekend on deck. Tommy, are we ready for it?
I'm ready. This is, arguably one of the best weekends in football between this weekend and next weekend. We have something that we haven't had for a while, Donnie, and Joe, this is all teams trying to win, which is not something we've been able to say over the final few weeks of the regular season. So we're in for some great games. I'm ready to roll.
Let's roll here. And Tom, we'll start you right out. 4:30 p.m. tomorrow, the biggest line you're going to find. And it's not a home team favored by double digits. It's a road team. There is some weather in the forecast here, which means we could get some rain. We actually saw this game just a few weeks ago, and the Rams lost this game. But the Rams are still favored by 10.5. It's been that number all week, Tom. How do you play Rams-Carolina in your mind?
We were talking earlier in the week, and I was expecting this line to move down to 9.5. And at one point, it moved from 10.5 down to 10. I was like, okay, things are going there. At that point, I would be interested in the Rams. But 10.5 is where it still sits. There's a lot of historic trends to back home teams in playoffs that are getting double-digit points. I don't know if I can get there with the Panthers. And I may not be betting a side in this game. It really just comes down to the total. I think the Rams want to get out there. They want to right the ship. They want to run up the score. They want to prove what happened a month ago at this point, wherever it was just a flash in the pan. They're still one of the favorites to win the Super Bowl. They have the second best odds, yet they're a road team in the playoffs. I think they go out and score points. I like their team total best in this game.
Like to see it.
So the night game is interesting because we've talked about it all week. Like I think the line of Chicago being a slight dog to Green Bay at home as the number 2 seed tells you what the market thinks. of Chicago, but we're also seeing some under money come in, which I think makes sense. So how do you approach this game? Is it a slugfest? Is it both teams running the ball as best they? What are we going to get in this game?
So, to your point, love the under. There's going to be a little bit of snow. It's not going to be a snow game. I want to make that clear. I saw some, people talking about it, across social media. It's not a snow game. There's going to be wind. If we look back to when Chicago won that game, like they needed miracles to come back and with the onside kick, Hail Mary, all these things in order just to win that game, scrape away with the win. So when you look at some of the numbers, when you're looking at DVOA numbers, looking at EPA numbers, Green Bay's better in basically everything across the board. And really a lot of Chicago's success this year has been propped up by their turnover differential. So you allow a team to drive 80 yards down the field and then you pick them off in the end zone. It's like, well, that's not really good because those turnovers are going to be variable. I think Green Bay's the better team when it's all said and done. I like Green Bay on the money line. I think they come away with the win. And to your point, I do like the under. I think this is going to be a run-first game. Yes, Green Bay's offense hasn't been fully healthy, nor have they all been out there in a number of weeks. But this is the spot for them to kind of, I don't want to say hit the ground running, but they're going to ease into things because this matchup's easier than people think, despite the fact that they're on the road.
Josh Jacobs said this week's the best he's felt in 6 weeks here. Matter of fact, he's not even on the injury report on a day-to-day basis. So a good sign there for Green Bay getting healthy at the right time. That game will take place on Saturday night. By the way, heavy ticket count public favoring here for Chicago. Let's roll it over to Sunday. Another game with a heavy ticket count coming in on the San Francisco 49ers. But we see that movement from the Eagles as a favorite of around 3 at the opening number, up to 5.5 at some outlets right now. Philadelphia, some windy conditions, not overly bad, not totally freezing conditions, and no precipitation in the forecast. San Francisco banged up heads into Philadelphia, Tom. How are you looking at this game here?
I'm looking at a game that should have points. And, I like points in some of these matchups. And next week, I think it's going to be the opposite. I'm going to say there's going to be no points in a lot of the matchups. But, what we know from the 49ers is that they can go out there and I think reasonably get to 17, 24 some odd points in this matchup, maybe 21. But the Eagles, they should be able to pour it on. They should be able to get to 24 or 28, maybe even push to 30 because the 49ers defense is so bad. The Eagles coming off a full rest. If they want to have any shot at, defending the title, going back-to-back Super Bowl champs, like they need to come out on fire. Yeah. Your offense has been extremely up and down, but go out and score at least 3 touchdowns and prove that you are still one of the Super Bowl favorites.
So we talked about that earlier, Tom, with San Francisco and Philadelphia. It looks like the public and the pros are all on the same page. I mean, we saw 5.5s in the marketplace with the Eagles now. Not so much with Houston, though, and Pittsburgh, because the public loves Houston, and we're seeing nothing but Pittsburgh movement here, and the total's coming down. What do you think we get in this game?
Tomlin as a dog at home, really tough to not back that spot when it's all said and done. Absolutely love the under in this game. I was on the under last week, Steelers-Ravens, and 4 touchdowns in the fourth quarter is not what I was expecting. That game was trending under the entire time. The live total was down to 32.5 at a certain point. I thought it was all locked up when it's all said and done. Really, I think the under's going to come through. And then, my favorite prop for this is going to be Woody Marks, the running back for Houston, under 15.5 rush attempts. Listen, he's a rookie. If you were to tell me that a rookie running back on the road had 16, 17, 18 rush attempts, I'd be shocked. I just don't see that happening. They're going to have a well-balanced rush attack. And, frankly, the Steelers' rush game defense, I should say, the Steelers' rush defense has been pretty good. They got torched by Derrick Henry last week, but over the past weeks prior to that, they held Cleveland in check. They held Detroit in check with Gibbs. They held Miami in check. And then prior to that, they got torched by James Cook and Henry again. So they've been a little bit up and down, but seeing the backfield that Houston has with Nick Chubb, George Jordan, and Woody Marks, I don't expect any of them to have 15, 16 carries. They'll all be around 8, 9, 10, 12. It'll be a well-balanced attack, and you simply have to do what it needs to take to get done in order to win the game. It doesn't mean feeding a rookie running back 16 times.
Yeah, and also, Tom, we always point out, you look at Pittsburgh, that's not a quick strike offense. Pittsburgh would love to go 13 plays, take 8 minutes off the clock, and then there you go. You have limited possessions and limited plays there for the Houston Texans. Agree on that. Let me flip back to one game on Sunday afternoon, Tom, 1 o'clock start. Buffalo and Jacksonville. Jacksonville's got an 8-game win streak coming into this football game, and they're underdogs. They've been underdogs all week long. Buffalo holding steady as a minus 1.5 point favorite. Do you agree with that line? And how does this game play out in your mind?
I agree with the line because I don't think the books would ever want to post the Bills as underdogs. It's just where I think things would go. This game is a coin flip when it's all said and done. I honestly think that this game is a race to 35 points. The Bills defense can't stop anyone. The Jags offense has been a rocket ship over the past month. I think that either team has to score, and it's really going to be the first offense to make a mistake and the defense to get lucky, and the game's going to end 35-28.
Is New England getting disrespected this week, Tom, at that 3.5, or do you think the Chargers legitimately have a chance to go in there and pull that upset?
I think the Chargers are live this weekend. I think they are the best of the underdogs to come away with the win.
Tom Vecchio dropping knowledge on a Football Friday. Thanks, Tom. We'll talk again shortly here. As for myself and Joe Ranieri, we'll be right back after this short break. Let's get down to the business at hand. It is a Football Friday. We understand the magnitude of that. It's Donnie right side. It's Joe Ranieri. It's the early line right here on the SportsGrid Network. Sunday at 1 o'clock. They told the Buffalo Bills, this is your year. No Lamar Jackson, no Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. If you don't get it done this year, you will never get it done. As we know, things don't necessarily work out that way. But Buffalo is a favorite on the road against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This week, Joe, it's been 1.5 towards the Bills, regardless of any public tickets coming in or any money or the majority of the volume coming in, even on Jacksonville. Let me ask you this question, because now I'm seeing a little BetMGM, little Bet365. They're now down to -1. Some of these games are going to get heavily influenced from now until they kick off, particularly this game at 1 o'clock Sunday. Will the Buffalo Bills, Joe, by game time on Sunday, still be the favorite?
Yes, absolutely, they will be. Another one of these pros versus Joes situation in the market right now. The public is looking at Jacksonville and going, how is a team that has won this many games in a row at home playing the best football, how are they not the favorite? And yet, if Buffalo was going to fall and become the underdog, it likely would have happened already here, Donnie, because I don't think Buffalo is going to raise to 2.5. We're not getting any key numbers in this game here. It really is, who do you think is going to win this game outright? And the pros are looking at strength of schedule and looking at the fact that of the 4 losses Jacksonville has, 3 of them against teams in the playoffs right now. Buffalo has been here and done that. Experience matters. I don't see Jacksonville getting all of this crazy love before kickoff and all of a sudden becoming the favorite.
Yeah, and a lot of these games, it's almost like the trust factor starts to kick in. Like, oh, Chicago, 2-seed, they're at home. Yeah, but we don't trust them, and they're the underdog. Hey, Buffalo's in the playoffs. Well, we know Josh Allen's been there, done that, hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl, has played in a lot of big games, and we just don't maybe trust Jacksonville. They're the underdogs at this point. Heck, even New England, who's a 3.5-point favorite as a high seed, they're not getting a lot of trust against a dome team that's got to travel 3,000 miles to come across and play them with a banged-up offensive line and a quarterback that's still trying to get his hand right from surgery from having a broken hand. But if we are focused on that Buffalo-Jacksonville game, high total, Joe, 51.5. Now, if we look at the weather conditions in Duval this weekend, 62 degrees, not really that windy and no precipitation in the forecast. Are we looking at points in this game from your perspective?
Yeah, it feels like if there's going to be a crazy shootout this weekend in a close game, it's going to be this game. And listen, Liam Cohen, once he took the training wheels off of Trevor Lawrence in this offense, they have been really good running the ball. And of course, Trevor Lawrence passing the ball. He cut down on the turnovers on the second half of the season. They can put up points with the best of them. And, you know, Buffalo has that bend, don't break defense, right? So they're going to have their chances to put some points on the board. And we know that Josh Allen, that you're going to play right into his hands by playing that kind of shootout. I would rather have Josh Allen than Trevor Lawrence in this spot.
Another game we're going to look at on Sunday, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia Freedom. Well, it's the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the San Francisco 49ers. That line between 4.5 and 5.5, depending on where you're shopping at. And before we get to the breakdown here, let's get a little clip here from Robert Saleh talking about Saquon Barkley.
Defenses had more success against Barkley this year than the previous year.
I'm going to skip that question from a schematic standpoint, but I still think he's elite. I know his production isn't what it was a year ago, but he's still a damn good football player. He's still a threat to break it anytime he touches the ball. Stoutland is still one of the best O-line coaches in all of football, and creating good angles and creating space for the back. So, no, but they can still run the ball as good as anybody.
Ooh, Saquon Barkley, Tank Bigsby coming downhill, yep. Lane Johnson back at right tackle. Joe, come on, feel the heat.
Listen, I'm going to be interested in this game, Donnie. First of all, I'm very concerned with whether or not Trent Williams or Ricky Pearsall are going in this game here for the 49ers. I'm thinking, Donnie, with the move that we're seeing right now, maybe one, if not both of those guys are not necessarily guaranteed to suit up here. We have not heard one way or the other. And let's face it, San Francisco's offense without Trent Williams, not as good as when he's on the field. He's their version of Lane Johnson. We know Lane is going for Philadelphia. I'm having this feeling that the reason we're seeing all of this money coming in on Philadelphia, they might not be as healthy as we think they are, the 49ers.
Smoke them if you got them. Let's go, Birds. We're all Eagles fans here. Nobody's 49ers fans. Anybody watching out there a 49ers fan? Oh, don't see it. Don't see it. No, don't think so at this point right now. Houston and Pittsburgh, Monday Night Football. And by the way, this is an interesting line because you would figure Steelers at home, dome team coming outdoors, Steelers probably a favorite of around 3 points. They're not. It's Houston. It's been that way all week. But also, Houston, it was as high as a 3.5-point favorite, Joe. The majority of the outlets all showing threes across the board and a total now of 38.5. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers being disrespected in this game, or do you have to pull a rabbit out of a hat and Rodgers has to do what he did last week and DK Metcalf's going to have to make big plays and you're going to have to get sacks from TJ Watt because Houston is the favorite here. Road team.
Well, and I get why Houston is the favorite here, but I also get why the public loves Houston in this spot and does not like Pittsburgh. However, the pros very much like Pittsburgh in this spot. And listen, this is all about the defense, right? The defense of Houston. Most teams, Donnie, this year had to kind of alter their offensive game plan when they were playing Houston in this defense. Pittsburgh doesn't. Because nobody gets rid of the ball quicker in the NFL than Aaron Rodgers. Their offensive game plan, they're not going to have to change anything against this Houston team. But Houston, not the same defense on the road, outdoors, in elements that they are inside a dome. Yes, I get the history that, Tomlin in Pittsburgh hasn't won a playoff game and yada, yada, yada. That has nothing to do with these two teams taking the field on Monday night. I agree with the move. I believe Pittsburgh is the right side, and I think they're a live dog.
How can Aaron Rodgers pass on this defense? Well, how about this? Here's Aaron Rodgers telling us how he's going to do it.
And they bring strong dog. They bring the mic, and they bring 44 off the slot. And we talked from day one when I got here. I like throwing vertical peaks, first pressure. So start off by looking vertical. And we actually kind of made eye contact in the huddle and just said, be alert. And then sure enough, he widens slightly like he's supposed to. He catches the ball with his hands. He gets 14 yards, and that's a drive continuer. We talked on through routes. If you get two man, double up, take your time, give him an outbreak look, and then go down the middle. And on the second last drive, he ran an absolutely unbelievable route. And it was just perfect. I mean, I'm literally throwing it, kind of laughing at myself because I'm like, this is it. See, I've been talking about this forever. But I'm just really proud of him. I can't say enough good things about Pat. He is an exceptional.
By the way, let me ask you a quick question on this, too, because Aaron Rodgers obviously invigorated. I do think he's coming back to the Steelers next year. They got a cold weather game. He's one of the best cold weather quarterbacks there is. But he does have the wedding ring on. Do we have any confirmation of who his wife is? Or has she ever taken a picture? Has she been on social media? Has she ever showed up to Acrisure Stadium to support her husband? Do we know any of this? Let's get TMZ on it.
No, and we probably will if he wins this game, though, Donnie. I think we'll get a much better idea. It'll be front and center. But no, we haven't, which is interesting. But kind of to my point, he's kind of telling you, this is, I know what they're going to do, and we're just going to do what we do here. So I don't think the Steelers are going to be intimidated by this defense at all. And it feels like Aaron Rodgers, been there, done that, knows what's coming. He'll be ready for it.
Should be a good one here. And also understand this, too. Like, remember when Shohei Ohtani just showed up one day and, oh, yeah, here's his wife? Like, wait, how did, like, the world's most famous superstar somehow got around anybody even knowing he was dating or who he was even getting married to? And here's my wife and here's my dog Decoy at this point. So Aaron Rodgers, when does he reveal the wife here? Could it be a boost here for the locker room? Maybe we'll know. We'll find out. More wildcard weekend action coming up next right here on the early line. Whose house, as they like to say at SoFi Stadium? It's the Rams' house. Well, not the Rams' house this weekend. The Rams are on the road to take on the Carolina Panthers, but maybe it turns into the Rams' house. It was actually a house of horrors a few weeks ago when you saw the Rams trying to fight for the number one overall seed. Actually got beat by the Carolina Panthers. It doesn't matter, is what the odds makers are saying. 10.5 is the favorite for the Rams over the Carolina Panthers, Joe, in a total of 46.5. Matthew Stafford on the road, maybe some rain here. They're telling you it doesn't matter. It should be a blowout.
And I agree, because it should be a blowout. There should be absolutely no reason why the Rams cannot handle business in this game on the road, because I'm sorry. The way to beat the Panthers, Donnie, is to make Bryce Young have to beat you, right? And that's it. Because we know, take away the running game, put it on Bryce Young's shoulders to have to throw for 250 or 300 yards to beat you, and guess what? Not going to happen. He'd be lucky to get to 170 yards. I mean, who are we kidding here? And I don't think he's going to have a great game here. This is an 8-win team who backdoored a place for a home game in the postseason, going up against one of the favorites to actually win it all. They're 10.5-point dog for a reason here. Give me the Rams to blow by the Carolina Panthers.
Come on, Joe. Let me give you some opportunities here. The Panthers were double-digit underdogs against both the Packers and Rams and came away with 2 victories, Joe. Does that change your mind? Did I just change your mind on a Friday about this game?
No, that didn't do it, Donnie, because it's still going to come down to Bryce Young having to throw the ball. I believe the Rams defense will be able to take away the running game here. And I think having lost that first game is a absolute benefit to the Rams here. I don't think there'll be a 3 or more turnover situation for the Rams in this one. I think they handle it rather easily.
Like clockwork, Joe, you know who's back into the fold? Devontae Adams. You get inside that 5-yard line. That's his territory. That's his touchdown. If you wanted to wager on it this week, take a look at FanDuel right now. -140 price. If you want Devontae Adams anytime touchdown, seems like a good one. It just feels like every time they get inside the 5, it's like, dude, this is your ball. Puka's like, what do I have to do to crash this party and have fun inside the red zone?
Well, listen, I don't think Adams would be playing if he wasn't able to handle those red zone opportunities and chances. So, I think he will absolutely be a big part of what the Rams. You can't cover all of those guys, Donnie, which is what makes them so crazy and what makes him so valuable. Not to mention the tight end, who's done a great job in place of taking those red zone targets with Devontae Adams out. Having him back in their full complement. Very dangerous team here in the postseason.
Dangerous, no doubt about it here. Green Bay is going to take on Chicago. And here's Ben Johnson talking about that Packers defense.
I think both him and McKinney are really good. I don't know if there's a better safety tandem right now this year. And I know the team we faced last week had a couple guys that are hurt. Those are 2 really good players as well. But these 2 guys, you just got to account for them. It's I think the safety position in general is one that it's rare that you go into a game feeling like there's an impact player, and yet this particular week, like these 2 guys they're all over the field. I think they're highly instinctive. They do a great job when the ball's in the air, making plays. I know McKinney had all those interceptions last year. He did a great job with that. And then I think it's been pretty cool to see Evan Williams just kind of grow over the course of his career to where he's an impact player for him now. We gotta do our best to take them out of the running game because they're very active. They do a great job tackling. And then when our backs get them one-on-one, they have done a good job all year getting these backs down. And so we got a big challenge in front of us there, and Halfley's done a nice job putting them in good spots.
That's a good offensive coordinator that knows how to put his players in the right position. The question is, can Chicago rise to the occasion? Because why, Joe? They're underdogs on Saturday night, getting 1.5 at most outlets here in a total of 44.5. Cold conditions, some windy conditions, maybe even some snow in the forecast. But the Packers, ain't no shame in their game. They're used to that cold weather, windy conditions, and snow as well.
Yeah, I mean, weather not an issue in this one. I don't even think the Bears being at home is obviously the market doesn't think it's that big of a deal either here because they're not getting any sort of credit or for home field advantage. But this is going to come down to, I think, time of possession and who makes more mistakes here. Can Jordan Love and the Packers, can they own time of possession? Can they convert in the red zone? I think they might. I think they will be able to do that. The market thinks they're going to be able to do that. And for Chicago, you've got to hope, if you like them to win, you've got to hope that the moment at the spot and Caleb Williams, he's got to make big time throws when it matters the most. And we still, Donnie, to this point, have not seen him do it. And that last win was absolutely, you are not repeating. If you give us the same effort that you did in the last game against Green Bay, it's not going to be good enough to win a playoff game against them.
Take a look at the touchdown markets here for this game between the Packers and the Bears. The leader in the clubhouse right now, odds-wise, is Josh Jacobs at a -120. Everybody else is plus money. Understand this with Josh Jacobs. Last time they played with the Chicago Bears, he was quite banged up in that game. And also, you had the concussion for Jordan Love, a healthier version coming to town for the Packers. Doesn't always relay that way because also you're going to get some other players back like Roma Dunze, who's been banged up over the past couple weeks. He's returning back to the Chicago Bears. Colder temperatures here, playoff atmosphere in the Windy City. Should be a fun one, but I do think Jacobs finds pay dirt. Put it this way. You could probably correlate this game and say if Josh Jacobs carries the ball 18 times for 80-plus yards, that's a really good sign for the Packers. Didn't have those options for the past couple weeks. I like the Packers to win this game, and I think they win. And, of course, cover the 1.5 for me.
Yeah, and I think Colston Loveland is interesting. He's been fantastic for him, especially in the red zone, Donnie. But, you know, Green Bay, top 5 against tight ends this year defensively. It's a tough matchup, but I wouldn't be shocked if he finds pay dirt in this one.
Yeah, and also take a look at DeAndre Swift, leader there for the Chicago Bears, +160. Christian Watson, +170. Dobbs, Loveland, and away we go. Wild card weekend, people. 2 on Saturday, 3 on Sunday, 1 on Monday Night Football. You better keep the dial right here on the SportsGrid Network all the way through the weekend to get the latest, the best. What do we like to say, Joe? The best second screen experience in the business always goes down on the SportsGrid Network.